Thank you, Ben,
Thanks
for
having
coming.
me. Great.
So you are calling this a world first. Explain what it is.
So part of what we've launched is a world first. That speaks directly to the product that we launched called Deposit Free. It allows tenants in South Africa to rent an apartment, the security for which is typically held in a trust account as a deposit, and they're able to do it without using a deposit, using our system. The landlords are unaffected.
A month's rental, right? That's the equivalent, that's required,
It's the equivalent of a month's rental, that's right. And on our system, we control the vetting and all of the processing, the credit checks. We've got such a great clientele that we're able to offer that in ways that the rest of the market can't.
So how have you gone around not requiring that deposit?
Well, that takes us back to the beginning of the story, if I may.
Yeah.
HouseMe's original vision was to create a market in which both tenants and landlords can be fairly served, transparently served, which in South Africa, as we know, has been a challenge. And in so doing, create such a great algorithm using our technology that we could do that at more effective and more efficient pricing and rates for both sides. So for landlords at 2.5%, we can do what an agency is charging 10 or 12. And for tenants now, and Deposit Free launched just last month, for tenants now, you can rent without paying a deposit, and we just charge a convenience fee a month. And at any point, if you do have the deposit, you pay it back, and that's how it works.
And how has been take-up?
It's actually been fantastic. So HouseMe, as a rental platform, has more than 75% of our users who want a second or third or fourth product with us. And the products we have include rental insurance. So we are able to offer a guarantee to landlords on behalf of the tenants that we've placed. We've got eviction coverage, and this now deposit free. Almost 50% of the people that we've offered deposit free to have taken it up. So there's a massive need in the market. And there's stories upon stories of people who are fantastic renters, and they simply just don't have the first month's deposit. There's some agencies you'd know, they charge 3 months deposit on top of your first month's rental. You spoke earlier about the GDP contraction. I mean, all consumers are under pressure. So being able to have, even if it's just 1 or 2 months where we can hold the deposit for them, it's a great benefit.
Which makes me even more surprised that you've got a 50% take-up or thereabouts. I thought everybody would jump at the chance of taking a house without paying a deposit.
Well, not everyone can. So not everyone can. We really do.
Oh, I see. Now, this is dependent on the profile of the person who is taking up.
That's right. And interestingly, we've seen, in terms of the take-up rate, we've improved the profile of our user base by educating them on what it is that they need to do. So not only can we, as HouseMe, assist tenants going into a property, but give them an opportunity to come back in 6 months' time once they've cleared up part of their record. Of course. Now, you started this 2 months ago, you said. Deposit Free was launched just a month and a half ago.
A month and a half ago.
And we've been doing HouseMe since the end of 2015, where I left an investment bank to come and start it. And we've been in the market sort of operating as we are for almost 2 years, by which time we've grown a book of almost 1,000 management properties across the country.
May I ask you, without asking you to blow, to sound your book or blow up your book, how well have you done and what kind of impact have you had in the market?
Well, those are two different questions. How well we've done, we're still alive, which as a startup is always good. So I can't complain on that score. No, you know, we really have made a massive impact. And I think we can see it in 3 ways. The first is we are actually able to serve the very agents that we disintermediate. So agencies are saying, wow, look at what you're offering for 2.5%, I can actually work with you. And that speaks to a great value proposition fit for both landlords and the incumbents. So I think that's really one good thing. The second is using our technology, because we can operate at scale, the amount of benefit we can pass on to both landlord and tenant is phenomenal. We even have a system that we call the HouseMe tool, where a tenant can say, I'd like you to place me at this amount per month. And so if a landlord could otherwise have a vacancy, he can choose to say, yes, okay, I'll take Lerabo or whoever it might be at 8,000. I wanted 9,000, she's willing to pay 8, I'll take that. And that's had a massive impact. And then of course, the third thing, which I think is a really, you know, it's a wonderful feather in our cap, we won our first institutional client earlier this year. More than 250 properties from this client, a real sort of badge of honor for a company not around for longer than 2 years. And the property market we know has been under pressure. It was under pressure last year. I mean, listed property last year was the worst performer. This year, many people are saying there should be a bounce back. When you look at the prospects of that sector, therefore, you have to say from here on it has to look good, no? That is some of the analysis coming out, and we wouldn't necessarily hold that view. I think a lot of
no recovery this year.
We're looking 12 to 18 months.
You are looking at the GDP number and you're saying this baby is not going to be coming back soon.
Well, you know, you've got two components of it. On the demand side, consumers under pressure, that's true, but that is going to ease, we believe, by the end of the year. So you could argue for that. The problem isn't demand, the problem is supply. We're looking at numbers that show the supply in residential rental, that's what we focus on, has gone up year on year, not by 30%, 40%, more than 50% more supply coming on this year than last. So it doesn't matter how much your demand recovers, you've really got supply side pressure that's going to depress pricing. And the advice to landlords there is, if you're not using us, use us to get this negotiation for price down. It makes the tenant feel they're paying a fair price and you avoid vacancy.
You raised something that's interesting. So if you are saying that market is down and that market may not recover for perhaps another 18 months or so, what must that be doing to prices?
Hugely depressed. We've got stats, and this is specific to Cape Town in this particular area, stats showing an average decline of up to 18% in some of the southern suburbs.
I think you should be talking to the central bank governor, don't you think?
Well, we'd love to take a call. We'd love to take a call. And of course, we can also see it happening by the number of repoed houses coming on stream. So if you don't have a tenant filling your mortgage and you can't pay it, you're actually going to be selling that house back. And an interesting piece, which maybe is for a follow-up segment another time, is why is it that some of these mortgage originators are now working directly with agencies? I don't think it's because they want their current job to do better. I don't think that's the reason. I think it's because some of the repossessed houses that are coming back to the originator, they need now to get back into the market.
Sure.
And that's the pressure that you're seeing.
Absolutely. And a huge amount of disinflation. That's the point I really wanted to make. And I think maybe that's another story for another day. The question for the central bank governor and the kind of impact that might have on inflation going forward. I wanted to go back a little bit to your origins and ask the question, do you think you were able to come into the market because you saw a market where a depositor rarely got their deposit back? Do you have statistics on that?
So yes and no. So we didn't go in because we wanted to solve that problem. There's about 50 problems we're trying to solve. That was number 30 of 50.
Yeah.
But yes, we are very focused on doing that. And HouseMe, because we're able to control the entire value chain, is able to take a tenant from a verification stage all the way through to the end of the lease. And we've set up a debit order system with a mandate that allows us to really, really walk a journey with that person. So on a HouseMe lease, we have less than 15% claimed in damages or unpaid utilities or unpaid rent. And that's, of course, over this whole book that we've built in about 3 years.
Yeah.
So that's a really a wonderful stat that we can show.
Yeah.
On average, you're looking at less than a month in this country, less than a month in damages. But the big risk that landlords fear is not really the damage amount. It's what happens if a tenant doesn't pay and then stays.
Absolutely.
And what we've done to build that system is actually integrate within our own our technology the ability for legal proceedings to be pushed and within 3 months to have some new tenant placed. And that's been fantastic. We only have had 2 eviction procedures in this almost 1,000 property portfolio. So we really do a good job, I think.
I think we need to come back and check up on you and find whether that trend continues. But Ben, thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
That's Ben Shaw. He is a co-founder as well as a CEO of HouseMe.